Lee Van Cleef's life reads like one of the very stories he brought to the screen. Quiet, hard-edged, and marked by moments that cut deeper than words ever could. Born Clarence Leroy Van Cleef Jr. in 1925 in Somerville, New Jersey, he came from humble beginnings, shaped early by discipline and later by his service in the United States Navy during World War II. That experience forged the stoic, controlled intensity that would become his signature. Hollywood didn't quite know what to do with his sharp features and piercing gaze at first, but what seemed unconventional soon became unforgettable. He wasn't the classic hero. He was something more dangerous, more interesting. From his early appearances in High Noon and Shane to his reinvention under Sergio Leone in For a Few Dollars More and The Good, The Bad and the Ugly, Van Cleef built a career out of silence, tension, and presence. Even after a devastating car accident threatened to end it all, he fought his way back, proving that resilience off-screen mirrored the grit he portrayed on it. But behind that steel exterior was a man who felt deeply, especially when it came to loss. Late in life, Van Cleef spoke about 6 deaths that stayed with him, names that didn't just shape Hollywood, but shaped him. The passing of Gary Cooper in 1961 hit first and hardest. Cooper represented everything Van Cleef admired: restraint, dignity, and quiet power. He once reflected that Cooper showed him you didn't need to raise your voice to command attention. When Cooper died, it felt like something foundational disappeared, as if Hollywood had lost its moral center. Then there was Robert Ryan, whose death in 1973 struck a more personal chord. Van Cleef saw in Ryan a fellow explorer of the darker sides of human nature, not exaggerated villains, but real, conflicted men. Ryan's fearlessness in portraying uncomfortable truths left a lasting impression, and his loss felt like the disappearance of a rare kind of honesty in acting. The death of John Wayne in 1979 signaled something even bigger: the end of an era. Though their styles couldn't have been more different, Van Cleef recognized Wayne as a symbol larger than film itself. With his passing, the mythic West they both inhabited began to fade, replaced by something more modern, less romantic. Richard Boone's death in 1981 felt like losing a rebel spirit, an actor who challenged the system rather than conforming to it. Van Cleef respected Boone's intensity and intellect, his refusal to play it safe. Then came Henry Fonda in 1982, a loss that carried a sense of finality. Fonda embodied decency, even in darker roles, and his death felt like the curtain closing on Hollywood's golden age. These weren't just colleagues, they were pillars, and one by one, they were gone. But perhaps the most profound loss of all was Sergio Leone in 1989. Leone didn't just cast Van Cleef, he resurrected him. At a time when his career had stalled, Leone saw something others had overlooked and turned him into an international icon. Van Cleef often said that Leone gave him a second life, a version of himself the world had never seen before. Losing Leone wasn't just losing a director, it was losing the man who believed in him when it mattered most. It was deeply personal, a reminder of how much of his legacy was tied to that single act of faith. As the years wore on, Van Cleef himself battled failing health, heart disease, a pacemaker, and eventually cancer, but he never stopped working. That same quiet toughness carried him to the very end. When he passed away in December 1989, it marked not just the loss of a legendary actor, but the closing chapter of a man who had outlived expectations time and time again. Buried at Forest Lawn in Hollywood Hills, his epitaph reads, "Best of the Bad," a line that perfectly captures his legacy. Because Lee Van Cleef didn't just play villains, he redefined them. And even in reflecting on death, he revealed something rare: that behind the cold stare and measured voice was a man who remembered, who respected, and who carried every loss with him like shadows in the desert, never loud, but always present.